Have you ever seen a military helicopter not dropping bombs, but dropping seeds? Yes, in one of the most extraordinary moves of our time, Ibrahim Traoré, the young and bold leader of Burkina Faso, released 100 tons of seeds from military helicopters into the barren deserts of West Africa. To some, this might look like madness. To others, it is a genius act of defiance, a desperate attempt to fight hunger, and a bold message to the world. We will grow our own future. We will not beg for it. But why would a leader use military resources, usually reserved for war, to plant life in the desert? And what does this mean for Africa, food security, and global power struggles? Stay with me, because this story is not just about seeds. It's about survival, resistance, and the future of Africa itself. Burkina Faso is a landlocked nation in West Africa. For decades, it has battled desertification, drought, and hunger. Nearly 40% of its land is swallowed by the Sahara Desert, and every year, fertile soil disappears under waves of sand. Add to that, rising global food prices, dependence on imported grains, exploitation of local resources by foreign companies, and climate change, making rainfall unpredictable. The result? Millions of Burkinabe face food insecurity every single year, but instead of waiting for foreign aid packages, which often come with political strings attached, Ibrahim Traoré launched something radical. He mobilized his army not just for defense, but for defiance against hunger. By dropping seeds from helicopters, he turned a military operation into an operation of life. Think about this. Most African skies have seen planes and helicopters drop bombs, bullets, or foreign propaganda. But here, the same helicopters dropped 100 tons of millet, sorghum, acacia, and drought-resistant seeds. This act sent a powerful symbolic message. Instead of fighting wars for foreign powers, Burkina Faso would fight a war against hunger and poverty. Instead of importing genetically modified seeds from corporations, they would plant indigenous, resilient crops. Instead of waiting for permission from the IMF or World Bank, they would invest in their own soil. Seeds became a weapon, not for destruction, but for survival. This plan is not random. In fact, it connects to one of Africa's most ambitious projects, the Great Green Wall. The Great Green Wall is a Pan-African initiative that aims to plant an 8,000-kilometer-long belt of trees and vegetation across 11 countries, from Senegal in the west to Djibouti in the east. Its goal is to stop the Sahara Desert from expanding further south. Traoré's seed drops can be seen as Burkina Faso's direct contribution to this dream. But here's the difference. While most countries are still planning and relying on international funding, Traoré took immediate action. He skipped the bureaucracy and showed the world, you don't need permission to plant hope. You might ask, okay, but does dropping seeds from helicopters even work? Great question, and the answer is yes, if done smartly. This method, known as seed bombing or aerial reforestation, has been used successfully in countries like Thailand, Canada, and even in the United States after wildfires. Here's how it works. Seed balls are prepared, seeds coated in clay and organic compost. When dropped from the air, these balls don't scatter away. They land, stay in place, and are protected from birds and insects. When rain arrives, the clay dissolves, the compost nourishes the soil, and the seed begins to grow. Now, imagine 100 tons of such seeds falling across thousands of hectares of desert. Even if only 20 to 30% survive, that still means millions of new plants. Plants that hold the soil together, create shade, retain water, and slowly push back the desert. This is not just agriculture. This is ecological warfare against famine. But Traoré's move is not only about nature. It's also about breaking free from economic chains. For decades, African countries like Burkina Faso have been forced into dependency, importing food from Europe and the US, borrowing loans from the IMF, which come with harsh conditions, exporting raw resources like gold and cotton, but importing basic grains. This cycle keeps Africa dependent, weak, and vulnerable. By investing in local farming and land restoration, Traoré is essentially saying, we will feed ourselves, we will not beg. Of course, this challenges powerful interests. Global seed companies, fertilizer corporations, and even aid organizations profit from Africa's dependency. If Burkina Faso succeeds in restoring its land, others might follow. That would mean less profit for corporations and more independence for Africa. But let's be realistic. Planting seeds is one thing. Making them survive in one of the harshest climates on Earth is another. Here are the challenges Traoré faces. Water scarcity. Without rainfall, seeds cannot germinate. Aerial reforestation works best when timed with seasonal rains. Maintenance. Trees and plants need care in their early years. Without follow-up, many could die. Political pressure. Global powers may not be happy with Burkina Faso's defiant independence. Funding and trade restrictions could follow. Time. Desert restoration is not a one-year project. It can take decades before landscapes fully recover. So yes, it's a gamble. But it's a gamble worth taking, because the alternative is worse, doing nothing and watching millions starve. Now, imagine 10 years from now. Large parts of Burkina Faso's barren land have turned green. Local farmers are harvesting millet, sorghum, and groundnuts from once dead soil. Villages that once depended on food aid are now exporting crops to neighbors. The desert is no longer advancing, it's retreating. And beyond Burkina Faso, imagine the ripple effect. Niger, Mali, Chad, all inspired to follow the same path. Africa beginning to control its own food systems. The world looking at Africa not as a continent of poverty, but as a continent of solutions. That is the vision behind those 100 tons of seeds. When Traoré dropped seeds from helicopters, he wasn't just speaking to his people. He was sending a message to the entire world. To Africa, we must stop waiting for saviors. We must save ourselves. To the West, we are no longer your colonies. We will not depend on your aid to survive. To future generations, the fight for freedom is not only political, it is environmental. This act transforms seeds into symbols, not just of food, but of independence. In the end, whether these seeds grow into forests or vanish into sand, one thing is certain. Ibrahim Traoré has already planted something much bigger. He has planted an idea. The idea that Africa does not need to beg for food, that deserts can be defeated, that helicopters can drop hope instead of fear, and most importantly, that sometimes the boldest acts of leadership are not about war, but about life itself. So the next time you see a barren desert, remember, all it might take is a handful of seeds, the courage to spread them, and the belief that even the harshest land can bloom again. Because in the end, this is not just about 100 tons of seeds. This is about planting the future of a nation. If you found this story powerful, share it, because the world needs to know that not every headline from Africa is about war and famine. Sometimes it's about hope, courage, and the power of planting life. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because we'll keep bringing you untold stories that shape our world.